Hello, Pokepals. Welcome back to another set review. It's been a while, but the Pokemon Company keeps pumping out new sets, so we got some catching up to do. Let's talk about the cards from Phantasmal Flames that could be good in the Pokemon TCG format Gym Leader Challenge. Vileplume has the attack Lively Flower, which deals 60 base damage and 120 more damage if it was healed this turn. Grass has numerous cards that heal: Shaman from Lost Thunder, Shuckle from Destined Rivals, Sceptile from Primal Clash, Herbal Energy, as well as generic healing cards like Super Potion. The attack only requires 1 energy and can knock out most Pokemon in the format, so this new Vileplume is decent. Only issue, it gets pretty overshadowed by the Vileplume from Ancient Origins, but I think the new Vileplume could still be worth running in a healing deck. Gloom has an attack that spreads 20 damage across both benches, so it could see some play in some Grass spread decks. Grass spread is a little gimmicky for now though. Genesect has the attack Bug's Cannon, which deals 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each grass energy attached to it. This attack works well with Energy Acceleration and Energy Doublers, specifically Rillaboom from Sword and Shield base and Meganium from Mega Evolutions. I wonder when that set review is coming out. With enough support, Genesect can snipe support Pokemon like Octillery and Malamar. Speed Attack is a useful second attack that makes Genesect a well-rounded attacker. By the way, you can play Shining Genesect and Genesect together because they technically have different names. Just an idea. Lokix has the attack Jumping Shot, which deals 150 damage for 3 colorless energy and shuffles Lokix back into the deck with all attached cards. This card is interesting. It works well with Ignition Energy because the energy gets shuffled back with Lokix instead of being discarded. 150 is a lot of damage, but it can be amplified with a Muscle Band with no risk of losing the tool. Forest of Vitality makes it easy to loop Lokix. The Grass type has plenty of Pokemon Search like Grovyle and Grotle to find Lokix pieces. You can promote Lily's Pokédoll to try to force your opponent into taking no prizes. That's all great, but the main issue of Lokix is its consistency. You might be able to get one attack off, but getting shuffled into the deck means it has limited board presence, so any deck that leverages it needs to be good at setting up multiple attackers. The Lokix from Paldea Evolved has lower potential, but is easier to build around than the new Lokix. The new Lokix is probably decent, but it needs some experimentation. Charmander has the ability Agile. With no energy attached, it has no retreat cost, similar to the ability on Zubat from Plasma Storm. This ability is solid, but the card has 80 HP, so it is not searchable with Buddy Buddy Poffin. Most Charizards in GLC are worth setting up early, so this is a huge downside that makes this card suboptimal for the time being. The new Charmeleon has the most HP of any Charmeleon ever, so it is worth considering for that reason alone. The new Moltres is really bad for GLC because it deals most of its damage if it hits an EX Pokemon, of which there are none in GLC. The Moltres from Brilliant Stars, or 151, are better suited for GLC. Darmanitan has the attack Blaze, 40 base damage plus 40 more for each fire energy attached to it. This is similar to Wailord from Journey Together without the huge HP stat. This Darmanitan is honestly not very good. It's one-dimensional, and it doesn't survive most strong attacks in the format. Its main niche is being able to knock out Wailord and Pokemon with Luxurious Cape, but it requires a lot of energy to do so. I'd rather play the Darmanitan from Twilight Masquerade instead. Glass Cannon Pokemon are okay in GLC, just not as Stage 1s with no abilities. The new Reshiram in comparison is much better. Burning Flare requires 4 fire energy to deal 240 damage and 60 damage of recoil. Of all types, fire is one of the best at getting lots of energy into play. This works well with Charizard, Emboar, Welder, Blacksmith, and Magma Basin, among other acceleration cards. Reshiram is a basic Pokemon, making it easier to set up than Stage 1 Pokemon like Darmanitan. Reshiram's first attack allows it to apply some early pressure. I think Reshiram will see some play, when fire becomes a better type. Cerulege has the attack Infernal Slash, which deals 220 damage but requires discarding 4 fire energy from hand. This attack is decent, but the whole deck probably needs to be built around Energy Search and Energy Retrieval cards. The new Fire Breather support can help with this, as well as Giant Hearth and Fire Crystal. If the Fire type had a Pokemon like Starmie that recovers energy, Cerulege would be good, but that isn't the case for now. Suicune has the attack Crystal Fall. It deals 30 base damage and 90 more if you have at least 4 water energy in play. This card is decent. Meta-relevant GLC Water basic Pokemon have attacks that deal more damage for each water energy attached to itself. The advantage of Suicune is that it allows you to commit your energy to other Pokemon. The downside is that it doesn't scale with even more energy. That said, I think Veluza, Wishy-Washy, and Lapras compete with Suicune for the same deck slots, so it'll be hard to fit Suicune into existing decks. The new Piplup is a cool upgrade for Empoleon enjoyers. It has an attack that allows you to search for a supporter card from deck, which could be Irida, Lily's Determination. The possibilities are numerous. Empoleon from Cosmic Eclipse has an amazing attack that copies attacks from its previous evolutions, usually direct to dive on Prinplup, also from Cosmic Eclipse. Usually, that strategy plays the Piplup from the same set because it has a powerful attack. The new Piplup is more likely to see play with the Empoleon from Ultra Prism, the water type one, obviously. If you need another reason to play the new Piplup, here you go. The new Prinplup is solid for strategies that use Ignition energy, but I still think the Prinplup from Cosmic Eclipse is stronger and better. Being honest, the Lightning type gets very little in the new set. There's a new Palmot capable of paralysis, but there's a Zekrom that already does something similar, and basic Pokemon are easier to set up than Stage 2s. Lightning enjoyers will have to wait until next set. The new Misdreavus has 70 HP, so it is probably the optimal card for the Pokemon. Granbull has the attack Finishing Blow, 90 base damage and 90 more damage if your opponent's active Pokemon already has damage counters on it. Let's be clear, this card is very average, but Psychic has Munkidori, so the attack bonus damage can be very consistent. That said, it's a Stage 1 Glass Cannon in a type full of strong Stage 1 and basic Pokemon, so this card won't see competitive play. Alcremie has the attack Sweet Circle, 1 Psychic Energy, 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in play. With a normal bench size, this attack caps at 120 damage. It's not bad, but with the Stadium Sky Field, the damage cap is 180 damage. This card seems kind of fun, just avoid Parallel City and Avery at all costs. Zacian has the attack Limit Break, which deals 50 base damage and 90 more damage if your opponent has 3 or less prize cards remaining. This is quite similar to Mewtwo from Crown Zenith and plays as a late game attacker. Zacian is easier to set up, but Mewtwo deals more damage. Zacian will see some play in GLC. Flygon has the ability Sandy Flapping. To keep the ability short, mill 2 cards from your opponent's deck when you evolve from hand, and mill 2 again when Flygon is knocked out by damage. This card is really good for a fighting mill strategy alongside Great Tusk, but the strategy itself is not very strong. Flygon is an okay attacker, but fighting has better stage 2 attackers. This will have little metagame relevance, but the card is unique. The new Ghastly has 70 HP. If you're playing a Dark-type Gengar, the only one legal for GLC being Gengar from Paldean Fates, the new Ghastly is optimal. The new Haunter is okay, but it has too much HP to be searched by Level Ball, so it will find its way into bulk boxes. Sableye has the attack Cocky Claw, which deals 20 base damage and 70 more damage if you have a Stage 2 Dark Pokemon on your bench. This attack is pretty similar to the one on Heracross from Lost Thunder. Less damage, but also less energy required. The Dark type has limited Stage 2 Pokemon worth playing in GLC, but one of those is Kingambit from Scarlet Violet base, which has an ability that increases the damage on basic Pokemon. There are other good Sableye cards. Junk Hunt is the best one for control decks. Excavate is a decent support ability in a type with limited support Pokemon, but the new Sableye is quite solid for many Dark GLC decks. Krookodile has the attack Vengeful Fang. For 1 Dark Energy, it does 60 base damage and 160 more if any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage on your opponent's last turn. This is one of the strongest revenge attacks in the format. Krookodile also has just enough HP that it could reasonably survive a lot of attacks on GLC, so it's reasonable to be able to use its revenge attack multiple times in the game. We'll talk about it later, but Grimsley's move makes Krookodile easier to put into play. Krookodile has a real place in GLC Dark decks, especially the ones that already play a Stage 2 Pokemon. Toxtricity is the best new Dark-type support Pokemon for GLC coming out of Phantasmal Flames. It has the ability Sinister Surge. Once per turn, accelerate a basic Dark Energy from deck to a benched Dark Pokemon and put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. Dark GLC has limited energy acceleration, so Toxtricity is a game changer for the whole type. Placing damage counters can also be a benefit. For example, Spiritomb from Unbroken Bonds deals more damage for each damage counter on it. The new Toxel is also very good. Call for Family lets you search for 2 basic Pokemon and put them on the bench. You'll be seeing Toxtricity and Toxel in many Dark GLC decks. Eternatus is okay. It could be useful in a big basic deck. 150 HP is above average for the format. It probably won't see much play though. Bronzong has the attack Tool Drop, which deals 40 damage for each tool in play, including your opponent's. Metal GLC has access to a lot of good tool cards, so the damage potential is high. That said, the attack requires a lot of energy. There are several other good Bronzong cards that you would play first, such as Metal Link's Bronzong. The new Bronzong is decent, but is unlikely to see play. Archaludon has Coded Attack, 120 damage, and it prevents damage to Archaludon from basic Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. GLC has plenty of good basic Pokemon like Snorlax and Okidogi, so the new Archaludon could see some play competitively if you'd rather not play Archaludon from Stellar Crown. The new Duraludon is okay, though I recommend playing Duraludon from Rebel Clash instead. Ambipom has the attack Dual Tail. For 3 energy, discard 2 energy to deal 60 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack is pretty good for spread decks and can be powered up by Ignition Energy. Colorless Spread is not a good archetype at the moment, but Ambipom gives it some burst damage it has been lacking. That wraps up the Pokemon. Moving on to the trainers, we have Battle Cage, a stadium that prevents damage counters from being placed on benched Pokemon by effects of attacks and abilities from the opponent's Pokemon. In general, defensive stadium cards are not strong in GLC due to cards like Field Blower and other powerful stadiums, and Battle Cage is an answer to specific threats. Because it is not always useful in every matchup, it will likely see little competitive play in GLC. Blowtorch. Discard a basic fire energy to discard a Pokemon tool or special energy from your opponent's Pokemon, or discard a stadium. Blowtorch is a flexible card that might see play in some decks with lots of fire energy as a second Field Blower or Enhanced Hammer. Whenever fire improves as a GLC type, we'll likely see this card in competitive play. Dawn. Search your deck for a basic, Stage 1, and Stage 2 Pokemon. This supporter card is very good for any Stage 2 deck. In grass decks running Force of Vitality, you can grab the whole Torterra line with Dawn. Even without a specific play, Dawn makes it easy to set up multiple Pokemon. Let's compare it to other GLC Pokemon Search for Stage 2 decks. Hilda. It can get an energy card, but Dawn gets more Pokemon. Brock Scouting and Dawn are comparable. Brock Scouting is a little bit better for decks that focus more on the basic Pokemon, but Dawn is a bit better for decks that really focus on the Stage 2s. Jock and Erazu. Dawn is better than Jock, but is about on par with Erazu. Ball Guy is more flexible, especially in grass and water decks that have Net Ball and Dive Ball, but it takes the ball cards out of the deck, which could be good or bad depending on whether you want to see more Pokemon. Sonia is more flexible than Dawn, but Dawn gets more Pokemon. Gloria and Bridget. These cards are stronger in the early game and fall off late game, whereas Dawn is good at most stages of the game. Dawn is one of many options for Stage 2 decks, with clear advantages and disadvantages. Dawn has a niche and will likely see competitive play. Dizzying Valley is a stadium card. Confused Pokemon stay confused when they evolve or devolve. This card is incredibly niche and likely will see no play. Fire Breather is a supporter that lets you search the deck for 7 basic fire energy. This card has clear synergy with Embor from White Flare, so it could see some play. In general though, fire decks have plenty of energy search cards like Professor's Letter, Earthen Vessel, and Giant Hearth, so Fire Breather does not seem necessary in most fire decks. Grimsley's Move is a supporter card. Look at the top 7 cards of the deck and put a dark Pokemon you find there onto your bench. Shuffle the other cards and put them on the bottom of the deck. You can't use this card during your first turn. This card works well with evolution Pokemon. Pokemon like Hisuian Samurott and Tyranitar that have pre-evolutions of different types can now be put into play more easily. Grimsley's Move also has a place in other Stage 2 Dark decks. Dark has a couple ways to confirm that a good Pokemon is on top of the deck. Excavate Sableye and Academy at Night synergize with Grimsley's Move. Dark GLC players should rejoice. Jumbo Ice Cream is an item card that heals 80 damage from your active Pokemon that has 3 or more energy attached. Most GLC decks at the moment don't play much healing, but Jumbo Ice Cream is a good card for tanky Pokemon, specifically Wailord. Who knew whales liked ice cream? Punk Helmet is a Pokemon tool. If the dark Pokemon attached is in the active spot and gets damaged by an attack from the opponent's Pokemon takes 4 damage counters. This is a better version of Rocky Helmet and Vengeful Punch for Dark GLC, but neither of those has seen significant play in GLC. Punk Helmet will likely have the same fate. Sacred Charm is a Pokemon tool. The Pokemon attached takes 30 less damage from attacks from opponent's Pokemon that have an ability. The card is not bad, but it is mostly overshadowed by Pot Helmet, which essentially has no restriction in GLC. Sacred Charm will likely see no play. Wondrous Patch is an item similar to Dark Patch and Aqua Patch. It lets you attach a basic Psychic energy from the discard pile to one of your benched Psychic Pokemon. Like Dark Patch and Aqua Patch, this card is good because most forms of energy acceleration are good in GLC. Psychic already has Malamar to accelerate energy from the discard pile, but I'm sure the extra energy acceleration is helpful in some Psychic decks. That's all for Phantasmal Flames. What do you think of the set, and what have you tried so far? Let me know in the comments. Stay tuned for more GLC content. Hopefully it'll be on time. And maybe some non-GLC content. We'll see. As always, thanks for listening. Peace.